The Mike Hosking Breakfast with Arvida Retirement Communities. Life your way. Newstalk ZB.
23 minutes away from 8. Monday morning, of course, the commentary box after 8 with Andrew Saville and Jason Pine. Meantime, the Prime Minister is with us. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Mike. Good to be in the studio.
Do you expect to see a global recession?
I think the tariffs and trade wars are going to cause huge pressure economically, no doubt about it. It'll lead to rising inflation. There'll be currency challenges. There'll be slowdown in economic growth. And that's why we just don't think it's the right thing. You know, tariffs and trade war is not the way to go forward. Actually hurts lots of countries, all countries, I think, ultimately. And so it's a real challenge.
Do you expect the EU to come back like China has over the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, the noises are everyone wants to go into full retaliatory mode and trade war mode. And I just think that's going to be bad outcomes for everybody. You've obviously got a lot of countries now that have had the retaliatory higher rates of tariffs coming back to the government, coming back to the Trump administration to say otherwise. But I mean, it's interesting, Mike, having lived in the US, that private sector will slow up big time. It'll stop on a dime. And you've seen that even over the weekend. People don't buy the new car because the new car is going to be 25% more expensive. Businesses don't go off and invest plant and capital and growth and actually start to sort of kick for touch rather than play to win. And the only loser in all of that is going to be the US consumer, who's going to be paying a lot more. And as a result, the US economy, when it's a quarter to a third of the total global economy, has flow-on effects through everywhere. So, we are in quite good shape. Relatively speaking, I think we're quite well positioned with the product mix that we sell and the demand for our products and services. And that's why we're out in the world trying to drum up business in other places as well.
Can you explain his logic?
No, I mean, I just have been a person for a long time who just doesn't believe that tariffs work. I mean, all that happens is you end up just piling on cost to the consumer in your own country. It's the same reason why we won't retaliate with a 10% tariff the other way, because frankly, it just hurts New Zealand workers big time.
Right.
So it's not good. We disagree with the approach. It's not a surprise. I mean, the president campaigned very strongly on this through his election campaign. But rubber's hitting the road now because it will cause disruption economically. But I'd just say to you, I think relative to other countries, the kind of products we are selling are in huge demand across the Indo-Pacific region, and we have lots of places to sell products to, and that's why we've been pushing.
Do you see a materials shift? So red meat's probably your best story. We sell now red meat to the Americans more than we sell to anybody in the world. Where does that red meat go? Does it go to America plus? Or does it go to somewhere else for less?
Well, here's the deal. I mean, you're right. Red meat's the number one export that we've got into the US. But when you talk to that sector, they have done a very good job of tailoring their products to American consumers. And you've got to remember, in the US, it's 360 million people. You've got people that are largely recession-proof, and if you find the right seam of gold that is wealthy consumers that actually, we haven't had a free trade agreement. We've dealt with tariffs in the US system for some time, and our guys, through better targeting of their products and finding those niches, are able to get in there. Zespri, for example, about to go launch full bore into the US, spoke to them on the day of the tariffs and the night before. They still feel like there's huge opportunity, and so our nimbleness and our relative competitiveness compared to other countries, I think, means that exporters still feel they can do well. But having said that, we want to double exports everywhere. That means trading and selling stuff everywhere.
Okay. Treaty Principles Bill, does it go back to the House this week?
It will come out of the... yes, it's coming back into the House this week sometime.
Is it dead this week?
Well, it'll be depending on the leader of the House as to when it's scheduled. But, it's got to come to an end. I think, we've had an aeration of the issues. There's been strong views on all sides of that debate. And now we've got to bring it to a close.
Indeed. Does it go back to you in some way, shape or form of your negotiating skills or lack of? Either back it and let it see its, or kill it, one or the other, because what you've given this country is this half-baked shambles, basically.
Well, I mean, we didn't want to do it at all. ACT wanted to go to a full-blown referendum. We found the compromise. Yep, I get it. Compromise is what's necessary in an MMP environment.
Even if it achieves nothing and wastes everyone's time.
Well, I mean, from the ACT point of view, there was an aeration of views on all sides, I guess. And now we're at a place where it's going to come to an end.
But no regrets on your part.
No, I mean, like the reality of an immature MMP environment where you try and bring three parties together that have a lot of policies that are aligned, but also policies that are different and views that are different. You have to compromise and find a way through. That's what the New Zealand people demand us to do with an MMP system that they've given us to work with. And so that does mean you've got compromise from time to time. It does mean that you've actually got, you go through, like we have on Treaty Principles Bill, an aeration of the views. People have strong views on all sides of it. but it is now time to bring it to a close and focus on what matters most.
The Manawanui, the report came out Friday. As much as you don't want to criticise people who I'm sure went through very difficult times, does that in its microcosmic way not sum up some of the problems of this country? People who weren't trained properly, shouldn't have been doing the job on a ship that wasn't certified properly, and sank.
Well, I think there's, we want to
what part of that's a good news story?
Yeah, none of that's a good news story. I mean, the only good news story out of that is that 75 people were able to keep their lives. And I actually, given the events of what actually happened at that moment, I thought, we were at very high risk of having lost some people, and that would have been absolutely just a different level of tragedy again. This is kit, yes, and it's incredibly frustrating, and it's clearly there's human error that's been the primary reason for this incident. But look, I mean, we have to invest in New Zealanders, and we have to improve our capacity and our professionalism and our skills. If we're going to access and create kids that are going to be AI leaders and build your 4-lane highway to Whangarei, which you desperately need and want. How the hell are they supposed to do it if half of them can't read at the level they need to be at when they get to high school, and 4 out of 5 can't do maths? But they need to be.
But that is New Zealand, isn't it? The ship that sinks manned by people who weren't trained properly.
Oh, I disagree. I disagree. There are New Zealanders. We are genuinely world-class, and we can be world-class, but that is a reminder that we need to continue to invest in our own skills and to make sure that we are setting our kids up and our grandkids up so they can compete with the kids from Singapore for what are a lot of high-paying jobs out there in the world that we have to get home and bring back home here.
Yeah. So this morning you've released this Q2.
Yes. What do you think of these quarterly plans, Mike? What do you reckon?
Can I just bring to your attention number 13? Well, to be fair to you, Q1, you've ticked off everyone, I think, bar 2 or 3, whatever it is. So you've broadly got there. Do you run the risk here, pass legislation to remove barriers to the use of overseas building products to increase competition, reduce costs? So that's Jibboard and all the various products, etc.
Yep.
So you've made an announcement on that.
Yep.
You're now making another announcement on that of something you will... See what I'm saying? There's a lot of announcements going on here.
Yeah, no, so let me explain. So just there's a couple of things. First and foremost, for a bill to become law, you've got to go through 3 readings of this bill, right? So it's a process of you put a bill into the Parliament, it then goes into typically a 6-month select committee process where the public and stakeholders get to comment on it, then comes back for a second reading, gets enhanced, then a third reading, and then it becomes law. So you've got to deal with that process. We can truncate some of that stuff, and that's when we use something called urgency. But equally, the reason I do those quarterly plans is to focus the public service and also the coalition government and ministers, because I think, in the past what you saw was actually a public service that had no direction from ministers and from a government. And as a result, now every public servant gets that, all the CEOs get that, they know what they've got to work towards, which is actually now, we've talked about that product, overseas products, we've understood the case for it, we've made the case for it, the public go, yeah, that's good. And now we've actually got to make that law, and that's what meaning pass the legislation means. Okay,
so the guy who was running Oranga Tamariki on Friday quit. I didn't realise he'd been away sick since September. Is he genuinely sick? And if he is genuinely sick, that's fine, and we feel bad for him, but why is he still running an organisation that needs a massive amount of overhaul?
Yeah, I'm not going to go into that individual case, but there is genuinely a very serious sickness and health issue there, and we wish him all the very best. We've had acting CE in place since he has been on sick leave. But look, that is an organisation that has been underperforming for a long period of time. There's been endless reviews, and we now need to actually deal with that because clearly we're not getting good results or good outcomes there.
No. Shane and Dot Jones, I'm assuming you're aware of the story over the weekend.
Yeah, I called Shane yesterday.
What do we do about that? Because you're lucky you've got people looking after you.
Yeah, I think, look, I mean, it's really, it's interesting, Mike, you go off overseas and honestly the MPs and the Prime Ministers live in real bubbles because there is just 24 cars around you, and when you move through a city it's just there's 2 ambulances, there's it's just bananas, right? And we in New Zealand want to try and maintain this thing that I can walk through an airport and be accessible. I can go to Dua Lipa on Friday night with Amanda, and it's actually people are going to be fine with me being out and about, being approachable and accessible. But equally there are serious risks and threats, sadly, that there are people who get very fixated or very angry about a particular issue or policy, and therefore direct it at you as a politician or Prime Minister. So we're trying to find that balance of making sure that there's enough security and support for families in particular. It's tough as a Prime Minister when your wife and your kids get called out. But
Mrs. Jones does not deserve.
No, she does not. So none of that is acceptable whatsoever. And I think New Zealand needs. We want to be in a place where we can be accessible and approachable as politicians, which is highly unique compared to what happens around the world. And actually, still have security. It's interesting living in the States. I remember talking to Obama about it. Like most of those senators arrive by private planes
100%.
to come in to do their week in Parliament equivalent. Whereas we run into people in the airports, and we're talking to our colleagues on the opposite sides, and so that you don't want to lose that somehow. So we've got to find this balance, and it's a challenge.
I agree. Dua Lipa, any good?
Outstanding. As I said to you last year, best song of the year, Chris Stapleton, Dua Lipa. You got to listen to that song. Outstanding.
Good to see you. Appreciate it. Christopher Luxon, 13 to 8.
Kia ora, Rodney. New Auckland Council rubbish bins are coming your way. From September 1st, just roll your bins out on your regular collection day. Search Rodney Rubbish Changes for bin size and delivery information. All together Auckland. Tāmaki Turiki.
Replace your roof and gutters with roof care in colour steel. It's guaranteed you can have it in the colour of your choice. Plus, you get a free, safe and simple moss treatment pack. It's so simple.
Call 0800 Roof Care and we'll be there.
Lipo with a Y is the one to buy.
Cooler nights are on the way, and we all know what that means. You can always rely on lipospheric vitamin C to support your immune system.